Right, I've sanded the bow, just the back and the belly, because once the bow's marked out it's going to be cut anyway, so it's a bit of a waste of time sanding all this glue off, because it's going to be cut off anyway. But if you look, you can see that there's no gaps. I sanded the bits, as you can see it here. There's no gaps between the laminates where the glue is, which is what you want. Alright, so all I've done is to prop this up between my workbench and my weight bench and just leave it hanging there. And I've got a long piece of string with a weight on each end straight over the bow, and what that does is that gives you a nice straight centre line with a piece of string. This is why I cut the bow wide, because if there was a slight bend in the bow, say here, and the string sat like that, you could move the string at one end of the bow either like side to side, and it moves the middle point of the string, you see. So you could, with a bow this wide, stave this wide even, sorry, still get a straight bow if the stave is slightly curved anyway, so it doesn't matter. Right, this stave's 78 inches long, so the first thing I did was I marked at 39 inches because that's halfway. Alright, and when you're making a laminate, you can pretty much pick top and bottom limb as you're marking out. Now if you're doing a self bow, you don't really pick the top and bottom limb, you kind of decide as you're doing it. But with this, I've measured it. Top limb's normally always longer, or the top limb is always longer, bottom limb's always shorter because of the handle. See, you start exactly in the middle, and then you measure 3 inches down to the bottom of the handle, and 1 inch from the centre line to the top of the handle. So that gives you a 4-inch grip, but obviously that being the centre line, that makes that limb there 2 inches shorter than that limb, because from the top of the handle there, it's obviously 2 inches more than this one. So when you come to tiller it, the top limb always tends to be slightly looser in the curve than the bottom limb, because the bottom limb's being slightly shorter, it makes it look stiffer, which is generally what you want anyway, because they shoot better if they're not bang on equal anyhow. As long as you've got a nice equal curve throughout, you'll find that because of where you're holding it, when you're tillering it, if you tiller it from the middle point, the bow will bend equally on both sides. But obviously if you're holding it, then you're drawing it from a slightly different place to what you tillered it, which people sometimes never seem to think of. I've only ever seen one bow yet actually tiller a bow from the point where you draw the arrow, which is 1 inch above the centre line, which is going to be just above the hand grip here, because obviously you have your arrow pass on the side. So this is the centre, and you've got your arrow pass 1 inch above it. So that would make sense to be the place to tiller it from. But generally they are tillered off the middle, which is what I'm going to do, because it's pretty much the standard and it's fairly straightforward anyway. Right, so what I've done is I've laid this string along there. Like I say, I've marked out the handle. Bottom of the handle is 3 inches away from the centre. Top of the handle is 1 inch away from the centre. And where the string, I've measured the string, make sure it's goes down the centre of the bow, or enough that I can get a decent sized bow out of it. And what I've done is I've marked 1/4 of an inch on either side of the string, and then the same up this side, so that gives you your 1/2 inch tips. And then what we'll do is I've put chalk on the string, because this is just a normal bit of string, and all I did was I've got a jumbo chalk like this, big old bit of jumbo chalk, rubbed it underneath the string like that, and then obviously when you ping it, leaves a mark. That gives you your nice straight line, so you know what you're running along. Now I marked either side of the string as well, so when I take this off, there's a mark where the string is in the middle. Same on here at the centre, and same here. And then when I take this off, I put a ruler on it, a long ruler, do it in 2 stages. Obviously mark it out, make sure it's nice and straight, keep the centre line, it helps you when you're working on it later on. Do it in pencil. Some people like biro, but it's harder to get off at the end, and I don't really like leaving marks on the bow. Right, and then what we're going to do for the actual shape of the bow is it's going to be it's at the moment it's 1 inch. It's 1 inch thick, so we're going to make it 1.25 inches wide, because you always want it to be wider than it is deep, all the way down the limbs. If you get to any point where the limb is actually deeper than it is wide, then that will cause a stiff point. So obviously if it's too thin you'll get a hinge, but generally the bow should always be slightly wider than it is deep. Okay, so what we're going to do now is mark we're going to make it 1.25 inches. So put it there, you see, and we mark 2/8 on either side of the inch, and that will give us 1.25 inches. Unfortunately I can't do it while I'm holding the phone, so I'm going to put this down, I'll mark out the rest of it and then I'll show you it.